video is about the history of the Chrysler Voyager in Australia, and it will mainly focus on the 3rd gen Voyager, but will also cover the other generations in less detail. So, in the US, the Chrysler Voyager came out in 1984, which is the same year as the XJ Cherokee. But the first two generations were never sold in Australia, so the 3rd gen was released in Australia in 1997, 1 year after it was in the US. It was available as either a short wheelbase Voyager or a long wheelbase Grand Voyager. This one in the video is a short wheelbase SE model, and the short wheelbase was only available in SE trim. But you could also get a Grand Voyager in SE trim or in LE trim, which had a leather interior, fog lights and alloy wheels. There was also an LE LTD trim, but the only difference I can find between that and the LE is it had a CD player and roof racks as standard. These were the same roof racks that were used on some 1990s Jeeps, also being a Chrysler product. The roof racks on this Voyager are not original to the car. They were originally off a Daewoo Nubira station wagon. It was also the first minivan to have rear sliding doors on both sides. The Chrysler Voyager was sold under various different brands in the US, including Dodge as the Caravan, Plymouth as the Voyager, and Chrysler as the Town & Country. The Australian spec Voyagers were mostly styled like the Dodge models with the Dodge Viper style front end, not that a Chrysler Voyager is anything like a Dodge Viper. Australian models also got different headlights and taillights to the US models. All Australian spec 3rd gen Voyagers and Grand Voyagers had the 3.3 litre 6-cylinder motor with a 4-speed automatic column shift. The motor made 116 kilowatts at 4700 RPM, so it ain't quick, but that's not what it's meant to be. It is a very nice car to drive, and it's great for driving long distance trips. It even has armrests. The Australian spec Voyagers were built in the US in St. Louis in Missouri. They have 2 removable rear bench seats that easily unclip and roll out on wheels. This Voyager is used as a camper a lot of the time, so the rear seats are currently out, and the ropes on the windows are to hold the window covers in place when it's being used as a camper. There is a lot of room in the back of a Voyager with the rear seats removed. 2 other unusual things about the Voyager is the mirrors are connected to the body rather than to the doors, and the windscreen wipers are on the opposite sides of the windscreen. The 4th gen Voyager came out in 2001. It had the same motor, but now it made 128 kilowatts, so 12 kilowatts more to carry around an extra 143 kilograms it weighed over the 3rd gen. It was also still a 4-speed column shift. The different trim levels were the SE, both long and short wheelbase, the LX, and the Limited, which got a leather interior and heated seats. It was also possible to option the Limited with all-wheel drive, however these are rare. The Australian spec models had the American Chrysler Town & Country front end. It got an update in 2004 using the updated American Chrysler Town & Country front end. The 5th gen Voyager came out in 2008. Only the long wheelbase model was sold. It used the same styling as the American Chrysler Town & Country. It either had a 3.8 litre V6 petrol or a 2.8 litre turbo diesel straight 4. Both of these came out with a 6-speed auto 4 shift. The trim levels were the LX, the Touring and the Limited. All of these were optional with either petrol or diesel. There was an update in 2011, and from then on only the turbo diesel models were sold in Australia. They were sold up until 2014. So these days they're up to 25 years old and can be picked up pretty cheap on the used car market. But is the Chrysler Voyager a good car? Well, the one in this video has 325,000 Ks on the clock, so they can last. That car isn't mine, but I've been doing the maintenance on it for a while, and it isn't too hard to work on, with the exception of changing the spark plugs on the back side of the motor. It hasn't needed any major repairs either. These do have a reputation for a bad 4-speed transmissions, and some don't last more than 150,000 Ks. But this one has done more than double that and it still doesn't have any problems, so I guess it depends on how the car's treated. Being an uncommon car in Australia, a lot of the parts do have to be ordered in from the US, which takes longer. I've talked a lot about this in the history of the Jeep XJ in Australia video if you want to hear more. So they probably are a decent car to buy if you need a minivan, a light duty van or a camper, and this one has been used as all three. So what do people think of the Chrysler Voyager? Well, to be honest, no one really cares about cars like this unless they're crazy. Minivans were craze in the early 2000s, and these days they are mainly used as either cheap work vans or campers. A lot of them are just run into the ground. But overall, it's a decent car, and it's pretty underrated too. And this one has been very reliable. These days, there are not too many of these third gens left on the roads in Australia, and will probably be a rare sight within a few years, considering that they aren't worth much and they don't have any sort of following. And because this is a car wreck hunter video, there's got to be some wrecks in this somewhere. So here's some of the Voyager wrecks I've seen. This one is a 3rd gen Grand Voyager, and that was back in 2019. And this one is a burnt out 4th gen Voyager, and that was back in 2016 before I was taking videos of wrecks.